Welcome to On Cue Magazine. I'm Stacy Smith. 20 years ago this month, the eyes of the nation were on Pittsburgh as a federal trial unfolded involving the sale of cocaine to Major League Baseball players. And what began with an investigation at Three River Stadium spread throughout the country. Well, tonight, On Cue contributor Harold Hayes brings us another of his TV news retrospectives. This time, Harold has a sports scandal replay at a time when the game could learn some lessons from the summer and fall of 1985.
Waking up one morning and looking in a mirror, and blood was running out of my nose from snorting so much cocaine the night before. I'd probably drank a bottle of scotch the night before, and I remember as blood was coming out and I was catching it in my hands and dropping it in the sink. I remember shaking my fist up in the sky and saying, hey, God, if you're up there, why don't you do something in my life? I was kind of getting sick and tired of the party lifestyle. And 4 days later, he answered that prayer, and 6 FBI agents came to the house and arrested me for distributing cocaine to Major League Baseball players.
That's how Dale Shiffman remembers the summer of '85. He was one of 7 people charged in the infamous baseball cocaine scandal. He faced the most counts, 111.
I was told by one of the ball players, I was called several months prior and told that they pretty much went to a grand jury and snitched me out. And it was Rod Scurry, who was a good friend of mine.
The late Pirate pitcher Rod Scurry bought cocaine from Shiffman at Three Rivers Stadium throughout 1982 and 83. On opening day 1982, when the Pirates played the Expos, for example. On opening day 1983, too, according to the indictment.
I did it just for the fun of it. I never knew that it would become serious. But as I moved up in the organization and my salary got higher, I continued to use more, and it finally got to the point to where I couldn't quit.
Scurry's public disclosure of his drug problem led to a nationwide investigation. By the time it was finished, big names like Dale Berra and Dave Parker testified in Pittsburgh at the trial of clubhouse caterer Curtis Strong, who was convicted of dealing drugs to players. Dale Shiffman, though, pleaded guilty.
Yeah, my attorney told me straight out. He said, you got a 111-count indictment. I can beat 110. I can't beat the wire where the FBI agents were sitting in your driveway.
Among those who were said to have worn a wire, providing evidence against Shiffman and others, the Pirate parrot at the time, Kevin Koch. Shiffman spent 2 years in jail and now lives, clean and sober, in suburban Cincinnati, Ohio. But while he was behind bars, he watched a lot of baseball players continue to play baseball.
How did you feel when you saw the baseball players who pretty much snitched you out, driving their big cars, going back to the ballpark, even getting standing ovations when they come back to play?
I was livid. You know, I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute. There should be one set of laws here, rich, poor, smart, dumb, pretty, ugly, whatever. Should be one set of laws, but I found that pretty much celebrities are under a different set of laws.
Was there a double standard? The man who was the federal prosecutor at the time says no. He says he just made a distinction between users and dealers.
This district hadn't prosecuted people or made a practice out of prosecuting people for possession and use. Okay, and I made a decision which was obviously controversial, and I would make the same decision again, that if we're going to move forward with this case, we want to do it quickly, and we're going to give immunity to the baseball players who were the people that used it. And obviously that, as I said, that was controversial. I'd have people in airplanes lean over and ask me why I did that and things like that. But that's the nature of a high-profile case, and you learn that when you handle them.
The criticism didn't begin on the 20th anniversary. Attorney Adam Renfro, who represented Curtis Strong, raised the issue after superstar Lonnie Smith's appearance at trial.
It's a shame that Lonnie Smith has just received his 3rd championship ring, and he's making all these millions of dollars.
That was one of the things people said, well, these baseball players are prominent and they're wealthy. That didn't mean anything to me. In fact, I didn't know that much about baseball when I was handling the case, and one of the agents did, and he just constantly laughed at me about, you know, when he'd mention a name and I'd say, who's he play for? And he'd just roll his eyes and he said, oh my God, Jerry, this guy is this guy is that.
I do remember sitting there saying, here's Rod Scurry and Dale Berra and the boys, and they're out playing a kid's game making millions of dollars. Here's my friend the Pirate Parrot going out to all these clubs, enjoying himself after he wore a wire. And basically they had a 51-count indictment on him, said you walk if you wear a wire. And he did that. And here's me sitting in the jail cell. And that was my feeling then.
Shiffman, though, now sees that decision as part of a larger plan.
I looked at me sitting in the jail cell, and then just 2 short years later, God had transformed my whole life. I mean, here I am married, had a great job in Cincinnati, eventually had 3 wonderful kids.
His transformation had a lot to do with a visitor in jail.
In the prison cell, I heard a little Baptist preacher come in and share the gospel with me, and I accepted Christ, and I knew right then and there that something was different, something had changed in my life. But that's what all my friends said, all the ones I used to drink and party and do the drugs with, and they said, Shiffy will be right back to where he was. And then as time went by, and you know, it's 2 years, it's 4 years, it's 8 years, never come back. I mean, because he changed my life.
20 years later, both former defendant Shiffman and former prosecutor Johnson have something in common. They look at the recent scandal involving Major League Baseball and the use of steroids. The game and its players didn't learn something.
The bottom line is these guys make a whole lot of money, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and I guess as long as society smacks them on the wrist, nothing's going to change, whether it's cocaine, steroids, or whatever else.
Same old, same old. Didn't seem like much had happened to stop the use of steroids. I mean, we can debate all day whether it could be done or not, but I think if you test people and you discipline them, then that could have a pretty significant effect. And I'm not so sure how much of that was really done after our case.
A point of view at least 2 people acquired from the attention focused on Pittsburgh during the summer of '85. One of the fascinating things about looking back and looking ahead through this story is the transformation of Dale Shiffman. He is still near a baseball field, but now coaching his son's Little League team. He's active in his church and dealing with the questions teenage sons will ask. He tells them that the decisions you make when you're young always have a consequence when you're older. In his words, I guess you could say, I grew up. Obviously, he's a very different man.
Obviously a different man. Obviously very interesting is that it's not that often that you see a prosecutor and a defendant agree on something.
And the irony is even this very day, Congress brought more people from Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NFL, asking them when they're going to have a steroid policy, and particularly asked baseball, you all should have had a deal a while ago. Senator John McCain of Arizona was pretty emphatic about that.
You would think they would have learned from this particular lesson 20 years ago.